Hello, Geometry. This is lesson 4.2. Our objective is to learn about congruent shapes. Two congruent shapes, or two geometric shapes, are said to be congruent if they have the same size and the same shape. So as you notice right here, these are all the same size and the same shape. Even though they've been turned or flipped over and turned, then we say that these are congruent because they're the same size, the same shape. However, here notice this one and this one are the same shape, however they're not the same size, so they're not congruent. And these ones are different shapes, and these ones are different shapes, so they're not congruent either. So there's a congruent statement when we're talking about two shapes being congruent. It looks something like this. We'll do the triangles just because there's not as many sides, but it looks the same for quadrilateral or pentagons or anything like that. So triangle ABC is congruent to triangle FED. So notice the order matters. So this is saying that angle A is congruent to angle F. So this angle is the same measure as this one. And that B is the same thing as E. So this angle is the same one as this one. And then D or C is the same as D. This one is the same as that one. We would also know that AB, the segment AB, is congruent to FE, and that BC is congruent to ED, and that AC is congruent to FD. It says in the diagram at right, ABGH is congruent to CDEF. So again, remember that A would be the same thing as C because they're in the same position. B is the same thing as D. So A is the same thing as C. B is the same thing as D. G as E, and H as F. So number one says identify the pairs of congruent corresponding parts. So for part one, I'd say angle A is congruent to angle C. Angle B is congruent to angle D. Angle G is congruent to angle E, and angle H is congruent to angle F. That's all the angles, but I also have four sides. So I'm going to say AB congruent to CD, and BG is congruent to DE, and GH is congruent to EF, and AH is congruent to CF. So four parts, four angles, four sides. Part 2, it says find the value of x and find the measure of angle h. So two parts to that kind of. So for part 2, this is part 1 up here, sorry. For part 2, I need to find the value of x. So notice I have an x right here and there. Remember, h is the same thing as f, right? So this angle and this angle must be the same. So I'm going to say 4x plus 5 must equal 105. Subtracting 5 from both sides, 4x is equal to 100. When I divide by 4, x is equal to 25, which is one thing that they asked for. But then they also said that what is the measure of angle h? Well, the measure of angle h must be the same as the measure of angle f, and I know it's 105. So I can say the measure of angle h is equal to 105 degrees. All right. Part 3, is kind of like a proof, but don't freak out. Don't freak out. It says show that these two triangles are congruent. So if I want to show that they're congruent, I would need to show that P is the same thing as R. Well, so I need to show that this angle is the same as this angle. Well, since this line and this line are parallel, I can say angle P is congruent to angle R by the alternate interior angles theorem. Likewise, I know angle S would be congruent to angle Q by the same thing. And I'd also know that this angle would be the same as that angle because those are vertical angles. So I can say angle PTS is congruent to angle RTQ by vertical angle theorem. And then we're already given the sides, so I know PS is congruent to RQ, and I know that PT is congruent to RT because they have those marks on it, see that? And then I know that TS is congruent to TQ. And all of these are given. And then I've just shown all the angles are the same, all the side lengths are the same, therefore they are congruent. Theorem 4.3, third angle theorem. It says if two angles in one triangle are congruent, this angle is the same as that one and this one's the same as that one, then the third angles are also congruent. This angle would be congruent to that angle. So let's just see if we can solve this one here. It says in the diagram, what is the measure of angle DCN? DCN. Okay. Well, first of all, I know this angle is the same as this angle. I would know that this one is the same as this one because those are vertical angles, which means that this yellow angle must be the same as this yellow angle. So the measure of angle DCN is equal to 75 degrees. 5 says, by the definition of congruence, what additional information is needed to know that these two triangles are the same? Well, this angle is the same as that one. That angle is the same as that one. That one's the same as that one. So our four angles are good, right? I know that this side is the same as that side. So I would need to know that this one's the same as this one, and that this one is the same as that one. That would give me all the sides and all the angles. So I would say DC is congruent to RS, or SR, and also that DN is congruent to SN. Those would be the other two pieces of information I would need to know that all three angles are the same and all three sides are the same. If you haven't noticed down here, your homework is on page 218. You can do a 3 through 10 all, 14 through 16 all, 19 through 20 all, and then one practice set of your choice.